Hello lovely learners, welcome back to ALifeLearned. Today I just wanted to share some awesome news and some awesome opportunities for people to offer help if they're interested. So, first things first, I'm very happy, very elated I should say, to announce that I was the recipient of a scholarship this year, which if you guys remember with my current attempts to return to school in September is going to be incredibly helpful. Yeah, incredibly helpful. I already have 4 years of debt from the university that I did before dropping out in order to take care of rather my court case. So being able to continue pursuing actually like having some kind of degree or certificate without having increasingly piles of debt building up is a huge relief. So I am just absolutely grateful for this opportunity. And I wanted to share it with you guys, both because I'm really happy about it, yay, but also because it is through a private charity that anybody can donate to, and that currently has been having difficulty getting funding, but is genuinely making a huge difference in my life, and has made a huge difference in a lot of various different victims' lives within Canada. It is specifically, as you might have been able to tell by the title of the video, scholarship focused at people who have been victims and gone through the court system in particular. It is, as I said, a private charity. It's run by Mr. and Mrs. Wamback, Joseph Wamback and Luzanne Wamback of Newmarket, and or at least that's where they are right now. And they personally experienced a situation of having to go through the courts because their son was assaulted. And through that experience, they learned just how little support there is for victims within the Canadian court systems. And they were just appalled by that and felt that they needed to do something about it. And so I'm really happy to be talking about them because they are the epitome of people who are being the change they want to see in the world. And so with this experience, they started their private charity called the Canadian Crime Victim Foundation. And through it, they raise funds both for this awesome scholarship that they offer to as many people as they can, but with their limited funds, it's only about one person per year at this point. And they also have, within their foundation, they support counseling and support services for victims in Toronto. And they're also they've been petitioning the government for a while now to try and get support for an ombudsman to be started for victims that go through the courts. I'm not very familiar with exactly what that means, but as I understand it, it's basically a representative within the government who strictly represents the needs of people who are victims and are forced to go through the court system in one fashion or another. So, really good and useful thing, or at least it would be. And overall, they're just doing a lot of amazing work for various different victims within the Canadian court system. Though unfortunately, they've had struggles in getting support for this, for both the foundation and for the scholarship in particular, in recent years. Apparently, due to encountering a lot of people believing that victims are people who put themselves in the position of being victimized, and thus they're responsible for what they've been through, and those aren't the type of people that they want to help. It's very sad to learn that that's a mindset that they encounter so often, because it's never a person's fault that someone else chose to victimize them. Even if they somehow did something to find themselves in that situation, it's always the responsibility of the other person who committed the crime. It just is. No matter how much you might have made yourself vulnerable, it's wrong for someone to cause harm to another person. That makes the responsibility on the perpetrator. So yeah, this has made it very challenging for them to continue on with a scholarship, though they have, through their own means and whatever fundraising they've been able to do. But I just wanted to mention that considering I've learned that they've had such a struggle in getting support for the foundation, and considering how much they've immensely helped me this year and made a huge difference in my schooling for this year in particular, I love the idea of trying to help victims who are specifically working to try and advance their lives through this scholarship and going back to school. So I'm going to be personally pursuing fundraising for them whenever I can between my schooling. Of course, I'm not going to compromise the time I spend on my schooling, but when I have spare time, I have experienced privately fundraising in the past. If you guys remember, I had fundraised to go to Fiji to help some villages there, and so I just want to use those methods and try and support this foundation as much as I can. And if you guys are in any way interested in supporting either just victims in general through their various counseling and support programs that they have in Toronto, or through this scholarship program that reaches victims throughout all of Canada, because they've told me a few stories about victims in the East and the West. So it's not limited to Ontario, although it is limited to Canada. But either way, it reaches out and really just does some incredible, how do you say, compassionate work in the world for people who have genuinely had it a bit harder than the average person. And sometimes one of the hardest parts about being victimized is going through the courts because of how much that they can twist you around. So yeah, I would like to encourage anyone watching this, if you'd like to help a victim who's trying to advance their life and get past what they've been through, please do check out the website below. Get in touch with Joseph Wamback, and he will give you information on how you can donate to the foundation. Any little bit, $5, $2, $10, anything, euros, whatever that you can offer, will make a huge difference for them. So please do consider helping. Even though it's just Canadians, you'll still be making a huge difference in a lot of different people's lives. I also wanted to add something that I just completely forgot. My brain blanked on it. But yeah, I'm really nervous about what's coming with school, but having this scholarship just really relieved a lot of stress and anxiety, because as a lot of you probably know, having gone through post-secondary, the hardest part is affording it sometimes. The second hardest part is actually doing it. So, yeah, if you can, please do consider supporting this foundation. And otherwise, if you can relate to, having been fortunate enough to receive a scholarship in a time where you really needed it, feel free to share your story below. And if you have any other interesting victim-focused foundations you want to share about, again, please comment that below. And otherwise, yeah, just maybe consider doing a little fundraising yourself if you're ever interested. It never hurts to help, but one way or another, I just hope that you will try to be like Joseph and Lozanne Wamback and be the change you want to see in the world somehow. Because, you don't have to start a whole charity, but just caring about others. That's basically what they've done, and they've grown that caring into various different efforts. So please do live by their example. And as always, join me again next week or sometime soon, where I try again to share a little something I've learned or experienced in life.